Let me tell you a story. The title is Night's Reflection. Night never was nor will be. She never grew up nor aged. She never was born and will never die. She just existed. She lived in her dark world where you could not see your reflection in the water or feel the warmth on your skin. Since she could remember, Night had wandered around in this calm, dark world. She had tried to make friends with the plants, but they would close at her whispers. She had tried to make friends with the animals, but they would sleep at her touch. She had tried to sing to the sky, but her lullabies made it only darker. What a lonely world I live in. If the cold and the dark could be of company, I would be the most loved being in this world, she thought. With no solution, Night continued roaming around her world, looking from far away the few living beings that were still awake before she would lay eyes on them. But one day, she crossed paths with an animal she had yet to meet. He was fluffy and round, his head could fully turn around, and more peculiarly, his big round eyes had not closed yet, even though Night had whispered to him her best lullabies. "Who are you, strange being?" asked Night. "I'm Owl," replied Owl. "Why haven't you fallen asleep?" she asked. "Well, I don't know. I guess I wanted to hear more of this singing," he replied. "You mean my lullabies? Is that what you called them?" It was the first time Night had seen someone awake, let alone talk to someone. So without hesitation, she asked, "Can you be my friend, Owl?" "With such a beautiful voice, I cannot say no," smiled Owl. In her euphoria, Night hugged Owl. Owl leaned his head on her chest and felt a cooling peace. He was all alone in this dark hug. No one here to judge, just him and his peace. So he let himself go and close his eyes to never open them again. Once Night had realized what had happened, she released his limp body and stared at him for a few minutes, until the tears started to roll down her cheeks. "I will never touch anything again," she thought. She delicately put Owl's body in her heart and continued wandering around her cold, dark world. But this time, her eyes were watery, and she promised that she will never dry them again. As she kept mourning Owl, she secretly hoped that her despair would call for a miracle. And she was not far from the truth. Her tears had given birth to small streams. And one day, as she stared at the reflectionless water, she saw something that seemed out of place. On the water, something seemed to be floating. following the exact shape of the water. It wasn't alone. All along the stream, these floating shapes created a path becoming bigger and bigger. Intrigued, Night followed them. Her eyes were not used to them. It tickled them. As the shape became bigger and bigger, Night started to cover her eyes. Her skin was being stroked by invisible hands. Night started to fear these feelings she had never felt before. But her curiosity was stronger. The further she walked, the stronger the sensations. "I can't continue," she exclaimed, but her curiosity was stronger. Her eyes were hurting now, and her skin could not take the stroke of those invisible hands anymore. It's only when Night was ready to give up that those sensations vanished as quickly as they appeared. It's only then that she saw him. It's only then that she saw the light and felt the warmth. He was full of color and energy. Plant bloom at his gaze, animal dance at his smile. He inhaled despair and exhaled hope. Night could not keep her eyes off of him. Like everything around him, she was drawn by his beauty. But she could not move. She was too afraid of herself. What if I go? No, I can't. I would dissipate the color, break down the light, and most of all, tarnish his joy. No, I can't, she convinced herself. She started to walk back to her cold, dark world when she heard, "Who are you?" Night turned around to realize that he was talking to her. "I'm Night," she replied. "Nice to meet you, Night." "I'm Day," he smiled. "Can you stay with me a little longer?" "I should not. I would put the animal to sleep, tarnish your color, and kill the flowers." "What is sleep? What is tarnish? And what is kill?" he asked. "You have never slept?" exclaimed Night. "Come here." Day made a sign for her to come closer. Reluctantly, she went closer. Beneath her feet, the flower closed and the animal went to sleep. Her darkness engulfed all the light and all the hopes. She looked at the destruction her footprint had caused. But before she could apologize, Day asked, "Why are you crying?" Night replied, "I'm mourning my friend." "What happened to him?" "It was my fault. I hugged him and he went to sleep." "Could you make me sleep?" Before Day could finish his question, Night firmly replied, "No, I will never." "Please, I have never taken a rest and I have never been alone. Could you share some of your darkness so I can sleep?" "If I do, I will never forgive myself the same way those tears are forever flowing." At these words, Day passed his hand on her cheek. His warmth did not dry her tears, but it made them brighter and lighter. At his touch, Night felt something she had never felt before. joy. Her joyful tears gave birth to the stars, and her first laughters to the moon. "See, nothing bad will happen if you give me the gift of sleep," said Day. Night looked into his eyes, and for the first time, behind the color, the light and the hope, she saw the fatigue. Hesitantly, Night took Day's head and rested on her lap. She ran her finger through his soft hair. For the first time, Day closed his eyes. His breathing relaxed, his glow grew stronger, and his color more vivid. For the first time, Day was dreaming. Night stared at him, dreaming. And from his dream, she made shadows and thought to herself, "Like this, you will always have a little bit of me with you." Day slept for centuries, but Night could have stared at him sleeping for millennia. Once Day woke up, he was brighter, warmer, and happier than he had ever been before. "I will forever be grateful to you, Night," he yawned. "I don't want you to leave." Night wanted to stay, but she was still afraid of what she could do. "I can't. This time we were lucky, but next time, maybe I could do to you what I did to Owl. And I am still crying." Day knew that Night would not stay as long as she would still be mourning her friend. So he asked, "Where do you keep your friend?" "In my heart," replied Night. "So please, give me your heart." Intrigued, Night gave her heart to Day. He took it delicately and with his finger fished Owl's body out of it. He blew on the feathery cold body and replaced the peaceful sleep with a vivid awakening. Owl opened his eyes to see Night and Day happy. "Oh my, I've never seen you that glowy before, Night," said Owl. Night could not believe her eyes. With her newfound joy, she exclaimed, "Day, I can never thank you enough. Please, let me stay, and I will make all your biggest dream come true." With a smile, Day replied, "You have already made my biggest dream come true." Day and Night hug each other, and rumor has it that they are still hugging to this day and will for millennia to come. The end.